Hi, I'm Deborah,
And I'm Lawrence.
and in this video we're going to talk about what to do if you think your child might be being bullied. And to be honest, even if you don't think your child is being bullied, you should be engaging in communication with them often enough to see if they are. This is not something that kids generally, a lot of them won't talk about it. So there are three different kinds of bullying. Okay, so there's physical bullying, which is pretty obvious. The other forms are, besides physical, are verbal. So, in other words, name calling or threats. So, in other words, a bully can intimidate your child without saying anything. They can just threaten them, especially if they're big enough to make it sound viable.
Yeah.
And bullies don't have to be large. Okay. So that's another thing to remember is that
Yeah.
you may think of this big hulking person. No, in fact, girls can be the worst bullies, much worse than boys sometimes. Then the other one, this is the one that girls are the best at, is psychological and emotional. So in other words, spreading rumors or excluding your child from activities.
Anything that has an effect on their emotional state,
Yeah.
in a negative way.
Yeah, I mean, all kids are different. So, for instance, for me, excluding was not a big deal. I was very shy, I kept to myself. For Lawrence, when he started being excluded, it was a big deal to him because he was a very outgoing child before the bullying.
Yeah.
The thing to remember is if you weren't bullied as a child, you may have been one of those lucky people that you only really, maybe ran into it once or twice. You first of all probably don't know the signs and the impact. Even if you were bullied, you and your child are different people, and the people who bullied you and who are bullying your child are different people using different tactics.
Yeah.
To possibly a different extent. So don't go into this thinking you know exactly what your child is going through, even if you were bullied.
In addition, if you're a parent, chances are the methods of bullying are going to be different than you remember. So you might not be expecting some of it. It could be vastly different from if you were bullied, what you experienced.
The important thing is to take very, very seriously the implications of the bullying on your child's mental health. Many children who are being bullied to a great, that are really being bullied, not just a casual thing here and there, are develop depression. And there have been publicized instances of children committing suicide because of bullying or because of public humiliation. So this is not something and not even children. I think there was one guy in college.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, it was more so the results of the bullying I experienced. That has stuck with me for a long time, and it has been a very negative thing that has forever hung over my head and will continue to hang over my head. Because, those were my formative years. I was still developing as a person, and what I underwent was not pleasant, and, like I said, has had a permanent effect on me, and it's not a fun one.
I mean, literally, I can look at the pictures of him on his second day of kindergarten, and then about a year and a half later, and there's just a huge difference. You may not know why your child might be a target for bullying. Your child, to you, and probably to most people, is just a perfectly ordinary child. Maybe they don't have ADHD like Lawrence did, or they weren't like abnormally shy like I was. I never really understood it. I was quiet, kept out of my way, out of people's way. Obviously, the kids who are different get bullied. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it always will be. In fact, the adults who are different get bullied by other adults.
Yeah. I mean, you can count on, for example, you hear a lot about statistics with LGBT youth and the rates of bullying and even suicide as a result of bullying. You hear statistics about that a lot because it's an issue. It's a really big issue. anybody who has some kind of quality that people can pick on, they will get picked on.
So, what are the signs that your child is being bullied? It's not always obvious. If given this situation where, last year for pretty much every single child, it was remote, and now this year for most children, it's the school's in person, this actually may help because you may notice a difference. You may notice that your child seems a lot happier last year when things were remote. And then when school started, usually it starts a couple weeks at the most after school starts. Kids seem to find their targets pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start noticing that it's called school avoidance, but I mean, basically that's what it is. They have stomach aches and they don't want to go to school. Or they're legitimately sick and they stretch it out for like longer than it needs to be. Or they'll call and ask you to pick them up early, which happened a lot with Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they just don't want to be at school. Mm-hmm. And most kids, especially in elementary, like school. They like it. The work isn't that hard yet, so they don't dread being in school. The thing you have to do is talk to your child all the time, even if you don't think there's a problem, because kids hide things from their parents. There are a lot of reasons, but one of them is they don't want to upset their parents. Yeah. Now, as parents, we know we're responsible for their mental and emotional health. They're not responsible for ours. They don't know that. They seem to think very often that they are.
Yeah, it really just comes down to check in on your child. Make sure they're doing all right. Or make an effort to.
Ask open-ended questions. So don't say, how is school? Because the answer is going to be fine. It always is. So, for instance, what you want to do is ask things like, ask about friends kids that they were friends with. Are they hanging out with them? Ask specifically, tell me about what you did today. Don't grill them. But, say, so what did you do in school today? And you should, if possible, do this every day. Asking about their day, and with follow-up questions may make your child comfortable enough, either make your child comfortable enough to open up or give you a clue that something is wrong. Again, because they seem to think that they're in charge of our emotional or mental health, or if they think you've got a lot going on at work, or this is happening or that is happening, and they don't want to bother you with this. That happens a lot too. But emphasize to your child more than once that the only thing that will upset you or make you sad is finding out that they were hurting and you didn't know. That for you, that's the worst thing, that you always want them to tell you what's going on with their lives, especially if there's something that they're going through that is painful and is making them sad. Obviously you have to adjust your language depending on their age. So it's really, really important to talk to them. I think sometimes what happens is having a routine where you do something every night, like I used to read to you every night, and so then some quiet time where you're not doing anything else and they're not either. Now, sometimes actually it's the opposite. Sometimes you want, so that they won't feel like you're holding an interrogation, have them do something with you, like help you with the cooking, where you're not, staring at each other. Like, kids are different. Some kids may open up when you're driving in a car somewhere. Some kids may not. So just try different situations and see in which your child seems to be the most comfortable talking about things. Try not to get angry or upset if your child tells you that they are the victim of bullying. Because what this will probably do is make them even more reluctant than children usually are to tell you when things are going wrong. So obviously you want to be emphatic, saying this is wrong. You want to emphatically say there is nothing wrong with you. You are not at fault. This is not about you. This is about that other child or those other children, that they are unhappy in some way and they're taking it out on you. but this has nothing to do with what kind of person you are.
Mhm.
If you feel like something is wrong or you're pretty sure something is wrong and your child just does not open up to you, definitely you should consider therapy for your child. For one thing, believe it or not, they might be more comfortable opening up to a stranger. Also, remember, this stranger is someone who has been trained to have children talk to them. The other thing is therapy is good because what's inevitably going to happen, without question, is your child's self-esteem is going to be torpedoed. They start blaming themselves. Remember, children don't have the same perspective adults do. So again, they're probably thinking that they did something wrong to make other kids not like them. And obviously you're going to clear that up. But so the thing is that starts eating away at their self-esteem. Okay. And they start internalizing what the other kids say about them. So, you know this. You started internalizing
very much so.
Yeah, what other kids were saying about him. For a variety of reasons, therapy is really important. If therapy isn't available, do a lot of reading and find out what kind of things you should be saying to your child. So the important thing is to bolster their self-esteem and to kind of like get those ugly thoughts out that are starting to take root because of what other kids are saying.
Well, if you found this video helpful, you can give it a like. If you didn't, you can give it a dislike. If you want to say anything at all, you can leave in the form of a comment. And if you'd like to see more like this, you're welcome to subscribe. But in any case, we hope that you have a nice day.
Take care.